last video you learned how to create visuals and how to edit interactions between them. We then focused a little on the drill down capabilities as well as creating a product hierarchy, which we then added to our matrix visual. We started to look at data from a user experience perspective and cleaned up the dataset by hiding some of the unused columns. We ended the session by adding a percentage of grand total value to the matrix to extend the analysis of our revenue. In this video we will continue to extend the analysis by creating a date table which will open the door for time intelligence calculations. We'll create DAX measures to highlight data changes so that the end user can really engross themselves in the analytics. Let's get started. In the matrix table we currently have our revenue and our percentage of grand total. As we click on a particular year, we see the revenue for that year, including the breakdown in terms of grand total percentage. It would be nice if we could click on a particular year and see the value for the previous year also, to do a comparison. To enable such capability, we need to create a date table. Power BI has the ability to do that, so let's do that now. Let's navigate up to the Modelling tab at the top, and let's click on the option that says New Table. This will create as a formula bar. Before the equals, let's type in date table, and then after the equals, if you begin to type calendar, you'll get two options, calendar and calendar auto. We're going to use a calendar auto option, so let's navigate down to that and either double click or tab when highlighted to add it into the formula bar. Once it's in the formula bar, just close the brackets and then hit return. After a few moments, you'll see a date table dataset appear on the right hand side. Let's take a closer look at this. Navigate to the Data tab on the left hand side and click on the date table on the right. You'll see a single date column has been created. Currently it's in the date time format, so let's edit this. Highlight the header and then navigate to the data type option at the top and click on date. We can then change the format if required to any one of these options. You're welcome to choose any format you like, but I guess the rule is to keep it consistent throughout the report. I'm just going to select the short date option. In a few moments the column will update, and I now have a date table that has an individual date from the 1st of the 1st 2012 all the way down to the 31st of the 12th 2019. Now this is what the calendar auto option did. It reviewed our dataset and took the earliest date and the latest date and created a date table from one to the other. If for example the data started in March 2012, it would start the date table from the beginning of that year. And if the data ended in September 2019, it would continue and create a date table to the end of that year. Okay, great stuff. We can now begin our time intelligence analysis, but there's one more step that we need to take. We've created our date table, but we now need to add it to our current model. Let's navigate to the Model tab on the left hand side and have a look at connecting this up. We're now in the model view, and by default the date table may be hidden. So click on the icon in the bottom right hand corner to make this visible. You'll see that the date table appears. Let's make a connection with the sales table. Drag and drop the date from the date table onto the sales date in the sales table. You should have a successful connection. Once done, let's navigate back to the Report tab on the left hand side. The first thing you'll notice, as many do, is that our revenue by year has completely changed. This is because we've now created a date table that Power BI uses as the main date table in the model. it's taken away the hierarchy from all other dates. But it's an easy fix. Let's highlight the visual, navigate over to our x-axis under our visualizations and cross it off. Let's click on the checkbox next to the date from the date table. This should revert the visual back to the way it was before. Great stuff. To improve the user experience and remove any confusion, it's best practice to remove unused columns. So as we did earlier with the product dataset, let's tidy up the sales dataset. This time we'll be using an alternate method. Navigate to the date under the sales dataset, right click and hide. Let's right click on country and hide. Let's right click on country zip and hide that also. Let's also click on the product ID, right click and hide. And then finally, let's hide the zip column. We should just be left with revenue and units. Excellent stuff. We now have a date table in place, we've connected it to the model, we've tidied up our sales dataset. Let's add a new measure. Right click on the sales header on the right hand side and click New Measure. After a moment, a formula bar will appear at the top. Let's navigate over to it, and before the equals, let's type in $revenue PY for previous year equals, and then we're going to use a calculate function. So if you type in calc, as soon as calculate is highlighted, click on the tab or double click to enter into the formula bar, open brackets, type in sum, and then following sum, open brackets again, and we're going to take the sum of the revenue. So let's type in revenue, and we need to select this revenue from the sales dataset. As soon as you hit tab on the revenue, close brackets, and then we're going to type in comma, and then we're going to use the function same period last year. So type in same, S-A-M-E, and as soon as same period last year is highlighted, click on tab or double click on your mouse, and then in the brackets we're going to type in date, and ensure to select the date that we created in our date table, and you'll notice it here. Once entered into the formula bar, close brackets twice and hit return. You'll notice your previous year measure appear under the sales dataset on the right hand side. Let's make sure our matrix is still selected and then click on the checkbox next to revenue previous year. You should now have the revenue previous year value in the matrix table. Let's click on 2018. We can now see our revenue gained in 2018 versus our previous year's revenue. Clicking on 2017, notice that the previous year's revenue values are now in the revenue column, comparing it to the previous year, which is 2016, and so on and so forth. This has now given the user an extra dimension in which to analyze our data. By default, when no year value is highlighted, the revenue value for the previous year is showing as 2.4 billion. This is essentially ignoring the last available year on the visual. In this case is 2019. So if I control select all the years from 2012 to 2018, you see that the revenue is 2.4 billion. Deselecting the value from the visual, the 2.4 billion will now move to the revenue for the previous year. So let's take a look at our scenario. Let's select Australia, control select Van Arstel, and control select 2019. We're now able to see straight away the revenue for the current year and the revenue for the previous year, giving us an added value to our data. Let's extend the analysis a little bit more by adding a growth measure. Navigate to the sales dataset on the right hand side, right click on the sales header and click New Measure. We're going to create a growth percentage. So before the equals, let's type in percentage growth. Following the equals, we're going to type in divide. When highlighted, double click or use the tab key. Inside the brackets, we're going to get the sum of the revenue. So if you type in sum, open brackets, and then let's type revenue and get the sales revenue column. Close brackets. So we type in minus the previous year value. So minus PY will bring up the revenue for the previous year. Tab or double click to enter it into the formula bar. And then we're going to type comma, and we're going to divide that by the previous year's value. So again, let's type in PY, and then double click the column to enter it into the formula bar. Close the bracket and hit return. The percentage growth measure will now appear in the sales dataset on the right hand side. Ensure the matrix table is selected and click on the checkbox next to growth. The value should now have appeared in the matrix table as a decimal number. Let's handle this and change this to a percentage. With the growth percentage still highlighted on the right hand side, navigate up to the top ribbon and click on the percentage icon. The value in the table should automatically update and now show an actual percentage of growth. Let's have a look at our scenario. Let's click on Australia, Control select Van Arstel and Control select 2018. Notice that there was only a 3% increase from 2017 to 2018 in terms of revenue. Clicking on 2019 shows us that there was a massive 18% increase from the previous year. Notice also how the rural category increased more than the urban. Let's delve into this a little bit further. Still with our scenario selected, let's click on the double arrow drill down. That will drill us down into the next level of data. We're now looking at a breakdown of segment. And if you order it by growth, by clicking on the growth percentage header, we can see the segment that increased the most of the past year. You can see that Select increased by over 3,000%. Some of this has to be taken into context, of course. Select only accounts for 0.08% of the grand total revenue, increasing by around 50,000, whereas Productivity has 2.6% of grand total revenue, increased by only 16%, yet bringing in over $250,000 worth of revenue. Let's dive into the product level by clicking on the double drill down arrow again. We're now looking at the most popular products from 2018 to 2019. So if you're asked the question, in Australia, which were the most popular products sold by Van Arstel between 2018 and 2019? Well, we're looking at them right now. You can now begin to understand how powerful this can be. With a few measures and some related dimensions, we can quickly begin to understand the movement of products by country, by date, and by manufacturer. Additionally, we can also click on an individual product and find out where that was sold, when it was sold, and which manufacturer it belongs to. As you can see at the moment, other visuals are currently cross-highlighting. Let's handle this to cross-filter them as we did earlier. Ensure that a product is selected in the matrix table. Navigate to the Format tab at the top and switch on the Edit Interactions button. As before, additional icons will appear above other visuals. Let's hover over the Revenue by Year visual and click on the filter icon. Let's navigate to the revenue by country name and again click on the filter icon. And finally, navigate to the revenue by manufacturer visual and click on the filter icon there. Great stuff. Now, when we click on any individual product from the matrix table, we can see exactly when that product was sold, we can see exactly where it was sold, and we can see which manufacturer it belongs to. Again, extending our analysis of individual products. Let's navigate back up to the Format tab and switch off the edit interactions. Now if I move over to the revenue by year visual, I can use the drill down features to now drill down into the next level of data, showing me the trends for products by year and quarter. Please take some time to play with the drill down options, cross-highlighting with or without the control button, and notice how much information you can get from this report in its current state. In the next video we will be continuing with our dashboard build, adding filters, KPIs and more visuals to push our analysis to the next level. See you in the next video.